if you think of the mind as the blueprint of your life, it's the blueprint. It's what's setting the standard for you. And most of that blueprint was handed down to you by the people that raised you, parents or guardians, family. Because psychologically, children will develop somewhere in the area of 65% of who they are as personalities, attitudes, and behaviors by the time they're about 4 years old. So as little toddlers, we were being shaped and molded and groomed for who we are today. That's psychology. 85% by the time we were 8, which leaves us this 15% to play with. But most of that was already set for us. Now, some of you are thinking, oh my God, I'm doomed. If you knew my family, I'm lucky to be alive. You know, others of you are going, wow, no, I'm really blessed. You know, I had like really cool parents. Now, let me tell you something. Now, let me just kind of divert here. I'm going to do a little breakout session on that thing. I find a lot of times people that were raised in really good homes and they were treated well and had, you know, great, you know, Christian moral upbringing and all of this, and they're just these amazing people. Really tough time with acting because they've been swatched with all the really good colors and all the really good shadings, you know, and it kind of, you know, kind of Disneyifies them, Nickelodeon-ish kind of style. If you know, it's all feel good, kind of pleasant, and it's hard to really tell the full story when you're in that. Now, it doesn't mean you have to come through a home where you were just, you know, dragged through the coals, but it means that you have different work now. You have to start accessing these other areas if you want to play richer characters. Otherwise, the characters become very limited. You see? Does this make sense to you? Okay, so mindset. The blueprint. The blueprint's kind of like what's going on in you. The cool thing is once you start realizing, wow, hey man, I'm awake here. I'm conscious. This is me. This is my life. I can start doing something about this. Self-empowerment. You know, people start coming of age, you know, the lights go on, late teens, early 20s, sometimes not, they don't ever go on, whatever. You know, everybody's a little different, but that point when you start realizing, whoa, hey man, I'm a human on this planet, here we go. We're doing this thing. Oh man, did mom screw me up? You get what I'm going, you understand what I'm saying. I got to get this thing fixed. I got to get this thing fixed. I found out as a young, I was raised by a very clinical mother. She was very anal retentive and obsessively compulsive, neat freak, crazy, like neat. I grew up in a very clinical home. And like when I was when I left home in my early 20s, I found myself being the same way. And I remember I was in a living room one time. I had my own place, had my own apartment, and I was just had this kitchen just was, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm my mother. This is crazy. And it was crazy because everything always had to be neat. And somebody came over my house and they said something I'd never heard before. They said, you're anal retentive. And look, when you don't know what that word means, it's really freaky to hear it. Because it's like, what's up here? What does that mean? I had to go look it up. And I had to go figure out what that meant. And it was like, wow. And it was, whoa, I want to do something about this. I don't want to be like this because I get it. I understand it. And so the first thing that I did, and I'm telling you the truth, I remember this. My first home, the home that I had was after I got out of the van when I was a hippie and all that stuff. I got a 3-bedroom home up in Boulder, Colorado, on Bear Mountain Court. I remember it. And I had a room. And I went into the kitchen, and I opened up the refrigerator door, and I walked away. And I made my lunch. I did whatever I wanted to do, and I left that refrigerator door open. Not to spite Mom, but because I finally could. Shut that door. Keep that refrigerator door. What are you doing? You know what's in there. Nothing's going to move. You know, it's like, you know, we're a product of our environment. We're a product of our parents. So I realized I didn't want to be like that. I liked the good part of being organized and neat. I think that's good. Personal hygiene is not underrated. I think that's a good thing. But it gets to a point where the obsession comes in. That's where the neuroses comes in, and that's where you got to go, wait a second, this is a little dysfunctional. This isn't good, and I had to work on that. I'm just being vulnerable with you, sharing a little intimate moment, trying to develop some relationship. We get a story going here. Because it's real, and I knew that it was off balance. So I wanted to change it, so I went to work on changing it, I was changing the blueprint. So I kept the orderly thing and just kind of let it happen. Just orderly, but not overly obsessive and compulsive about it, because I was able to manage the blueprint. So I want to talk to you about your blueprints right now. The blueprint in your life is what keeps you rolling. It's what makes you do what it is that you're doing. Your blueprint is who you are, and it's what you work off of. So if you look at a script on a movie, on a web series, TV show, you look at the script, that's the story, and all the departments have to function off that story, right? That's what makes for a successful story. You got a crappy script, you have a tough project on your hands, right? You with me? The story? You have a story, and all your departments have to function off of that story. But that story might be a little bit tweaked. There's some parts about that story that just might not be helping you. They're actually working against you. For example, when you feel nerves coming on you in a waiting room and you start freaking out, you should know better. No, that's the old blueprint. The new blueprint is this is fuel, and I need to channel the fuel. I need to get the fuel to flow properly. I need to curl my toes, intermittent breathing. Also, if you do get in the room, here's another one for you. If you do get in the room and you're just freaking out, and you can don't hold the copy if you can help it, because there's nothing that's going to be accentuated more than the copy when you're nervous. I mean, and you're reading like I see it all the time. I mean, it's like earrings. You move a little, they just wah, wah, wah. You know, it just accentuates the movement. So if you're finding that that thing's getting out of control for you, you got to ground. Curl those toes and then try to lean up against something and squeeze it. Push it. Grab it. Whatever it might be. If you're on a chair or something, push up against it. Ground the energy just like a grounding rod to the best of your ability. Move the copy around so that it doesn't, until you start controlling it. It's not going to take you out. You're going to control it. You're just in a bit of a tug of war. You're wrestling right now. But you got to keep wrestling it until you keep breathing through that thing, till you can ground yourself and then own that audition. Own that read. Don't let it take you out. And you got to keep practicing that and practicing that until you can handle it.